Motorcycle Racing with the Continental Circus from 1920 to 1970 by Chris Pieris. If you were ever interested in what it was like to race motorcycles long before MotoGP, or even when the two-strokes ruled the races, this is a great place to begin. Chris Pieris has taken the evolution of motorcycle racing from its roots just before large professional teams begin to push out their privateers. The 20 chapters are broken down into segments covering the various years in racing, such as pre-war, post-war, early and late 1950s, and so on. These chapters do an excellent job of giving readers an idea of what it was like to race in the 1920s on fragile machines and breakneck speeds with only a leather coat and cap for protection. Later in the 1950s, we now have faster machine racing on tracks that had terrible records in safety. I found Chapter 5 interesting since it explained how racers earned their money back then and how they traveled to the races. Later in Chapter 10, the author explains how the racers earned start money. In both these chapters, it showed how privateer racers struggled to earn enough money to pay their way to the next race. The book also covers the arrival of Japanese manufacturers and later the beginning of the two-stroke dominance of the sport. The final chapter, called The End of the Era, explains on how in the early 1970s street road racing, with a few exceptions such as the Isle of Man and several Irish races, was being banned and many smaller circuits were shutting down all over Europe. This is where the privateers were earning a large part of their money to race the Grand Prix, and that was the beginning of the larger professional teams and the beginning of the end of the privateer racing. Although some would carry on into the 1980s, the Continental Circuit, as it existed for over 60 years, was ending. This book is only available in hardcover, and I will leave a link in the description for it.